Hi, Mark Donovan here, and today I'm going to go over tips for flying an instrument approach procedure. I'm going to cover such items as when to brief the approach plate, major tasks to do before you actually get on the instrument approach procedure, tasks and callouts to make when you're on the actual instrument approach, and then procedures that you should follow when you've decided you're going to go for landing or if you're going to go for a mist. So follow along. All right, let's get into this. Tips for flying an instrument approach procedure better. So when to brief an instrument approach plate or procedure? Do it before you get in the air, if at all possible. The best time to brief an instrument approach procedure is during the IFR flight planning stage, back at your departure airport, and or during the pre-flight. Check the forecasted winds at your destination airport and brief the instrument approach procedures that you could anticipate to get at that destination airport. In the air, once you're in the air and you're en route and the route phase and you're anticipating based on the current winds at the destination airport, again, pull open those approach plates and brief them before you begin your descent into your terminal area. ATC approach will often tell you what instrument approach procedure to expect. Also, if you haven't heard from them on what to expect for an approach procedure, give them a call and request an approach that you'd like to fly. And depending on winds and traffic flow, they may accommodate you. And by getting that information early on, while you're still in the approach phase and you haven't actually started descent, you have a chance to, again, brief those plates or procedures ahead of time. But hopefully in advance, you've already looked at those particular procedures while you're on the ground at your departure airport. Then set up your avionics to ensure that you're fully prepared prior to reaching the initial approach fix associated with that instrument procedure. Load it into your avionics. Maybe just load it, don't activate it, but have it there ready to go. And then call up that instrument approach procedure on your iPad or wherever you have and confirm that you have the right instrument approach procedure called up, that it's current. Make sure there's no notes in the approach plate that would preclude you from even flying that instrument approach procedure. Look at the inbound course and set it on your CDI or HSI. Look at the localizer frequency if you're flying an ILS or a approach and enter it in your nav radio, make sure it's active, and identify it. Confirm the runway length and touchdown zone elevations as well as runway lighting. Make sure to put the GPS avionics in the requisite VLOC or GPS mode for the HSI, if you got an HSI. Review any step-down altitudes associated with the procedure. Brief the glide slope intercept altitude for precision approach to ensure that you don't find yourself on a false glide slope and inadvertently follow a glide slope that's much too high or too low to the requisite one that you need to fly at. Confirm that the airport weather conditions meet the visibility and ceilings minimum for the particular approach you plan to fly into the airport. Review the decision altitude or decision height and MDA, or minimum descent altitude, depending what flight procedure you're flying. Review the final approach fix, the missed approach point, and the visual descent point if there is one. And then review the missed approach procedure, both the graphical version and the textual one, to make sure you know what you're going to do if you go missed. Okay, key tasks to do just before starting an instrument approach procedure. Perform the before landing checklist prior to arriving at the instrument approach course after either ATC gives you a clearance to the initial approach fix or ATC gives you vectors to intercept the inbound course. So as soon as you get that ATC clearance or vectors toward the approach, go ahead and do your before landing checklist. This way, if you get too busy while you're actually flying the approach in, you don't inadvertently forget to do the before landing checklist and find yourself landing with the gear up. Upon turning inbound on the instrument approach course, maintain altitude until the glide slope is 1 dot above the CDI. Then configure the aircraft for landing with 10 degrees of flaps and gear down depending on your aircraft, and reduce the power to maintain a glide slope and ensure a stable approach so that as you cross the final approach fix, you're absolutely 100% stable and safe as you continue from the final approach fix down to your DA or MDA. And gear and flaps should be down at glide slope intercept for a precision approach or by the final approach fix for a non-precision approach. All right, continuing on, make increasingly minor heading, pitch, and power changes as you descend down the glide slope from the final approach fix to the DA or MDA. Heading changes should be no more than plus or minus 5 degrees and even less when you get closer to the runway centerline or to the decision altitude or MDA. With ILS and LPV approaches, the lateral course sensitivity will continue to increase as you approach the runway. So you really want to bracket your movements and your heading to be smaller and smaller corrections as you get closer and closer to your decision altitude or MDA. I also want to talk about callouts. There should be some predetermined callouts that you should make on your instrument approach procedure. When you first turn inbound to the course, say localizer or course is alive as you see the needle swing in. For ILS, call out the glide slope is alive, or for GPS and LPV, call out the glide path is alive when you start to see a glide slope or glide path coming down. For GPS approaches, verify call out LPV mode or LNAV, VNAV mode on the avionics. So that will, by the fact that you see LPV, you know that you can descend down to the LPV level minima in the RNAV approach that you're flying. For ILS, verify call out no flags and on glide slope and at glide slope intercept. As you proceed down from your final approach fix, make callouts as you approach minimums. 1,000 feet to minimums, 500 feet to minimums, 200 feet to minimums, 100 feet to minimums. And then when you do reach minimums, call out minimums and state whether you're landing or going missed. If you plan to land or if you plan to go missed, what do you want to do next? Well, if you're landing, slow to landing speed and continue inbound for landing. Only apply additional flaps if necessary to ensure a stable approach all the way to touchdown. If going missed, after initiating the mist, pitch up, power up, gear up, flaps up, activate the mist procedure on the GPS avionics by unsuspending the flight plan. And then as you climb out and start on that published mist, contact the tower or CTAF if there's not a tower airport and report that you're going missed. Then switch to ATC approach and report you've gone missed and are flying the published mist. And then at that point, you'll just wait for further instructions from ATC. So those are my tips on flying instrument approach procedures. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you get notified on my next video.